indicted.
They're going to fight this at every turn.
Arraignment due next week.
Donald Trump will have to come to court and be processed.
Supporters outraged.
They don't want the man to even make it to Election Day.
Good morning, I'm Steve Kathan with the CBS World News Roundup. It's never happened before in American history. A former president of the United States indicted on criminal charges. It's happened now in New York in the hush money case, and Donald Trump, who's now a candidate for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, is expected to turn himself in next Tuesday. CBS's Robert Costa says the indictment, still sealed with charges yet to be revealed, has kicked up GOP anger.
They're trying to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him at the ballot box.
Republicans rushed to the former president's defense, from his son Eric
My father's only crime was winning the 2016 election.
to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who called the indictment un-American and said his state would not help extradite Trump.
I think this is an outrage.
To his former Vice President Mike Pence, who called the move a disservice to the country.
The idea that for the first time in American history, a former president would be indicted on a campaign finance issue, it just smacks of political prosecution.
I'm Stephen Portnoy. The grand jury's indictment remains under seal and may not become public until the arraignment. Trump is expected to face charges related to a hush money payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 election. In 2018, Trump initially denied knowing about that payment.
We have to ask Michael Cohen. Michael's my attorney, and you'll have to ask Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen is now expected to be the star witness in the case against Trump. He pleaded guilty to a federal charge that the payment to Daniels amounted to a campaign finance violation. He told Congress that Trump reimbursed him via the Trump Organization and in personal checks that Trump signed himself while he was president. Inside the company, the payments were cataloged as legal expenses. It's why Loyola University law professor Lori Levinson expects prosecutors to charge Trump with falsifying business records.
And if they're done in pursuing campaign finance violations, that elevates things from a misdemeanor to a felony.
But experts note that legal theory is untested. New York State prosecutors have never pursued such a case involving a donation to a federal candidate. Trump attorney Joe Tacopina tells CBS Mornings.
It's a very troubling case because there's no crime here. The United States Attorney's Office, who has jurisdiction over federal election campaigns, turned this down.
I'm Mayor Rubin, outside Manhattan Criminal Court. The metal police barricades are up here. Police cruisers are lined up in front, and all NYPD officers are being deployed in uniform, ready for the protesters should they show up in force, as former President Trump asked them to.
CBS News Chief Washington Correspondent Major Garrett.
This becomes a traumatic event for the country. That in no way benefits former President Trump because that deepens a sense of national trauma about his underlying conduct. And though Republicans will rally around it, this has a long way to go on the facts, the law, and the politics. And the former president's conduct, and he's already talked about protests, the implications of violence, all of that will be laid at his doorstep.
University of Virginia political scientist Larry Sabato says this development has seemed to galvanize support across the GOP spectrum.
This indictment is just as likely to help Donald Trump within the Republican Party contest. And you can tell that because of the reaction of senior Republican leaders and even some of his opponents in the presidential race.
Jim Trusty represents Trump in two separate federal cases that are still very much in play, one on the Capitol attack and the other on classified documents investigators found at Mar-a-Lago.
I think what the president really hopes for more than anything else is transparency. That every American looks at this process, spots the foul.
It's the World News Roundup, and it's 4 minutes after the hour.
Well, that's today's news. Today's news. I didn't hear any good news, did you? I didn't think so. I guess it's all about perspective. The glass is half full. Well, as always, I want to thank you again for coming along with me on these Dash Cam News adventures. You know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz. Bye-bye, everybody.